This show is PG-13, so you might hear a naughty word. And by that, I mean probably for sure, because this show's for grown-ups. Welcome to our coverage of the Paris Olympic Games. Today was the last artistic gymnastics meet. This is it. This was the last final. And
oh boy.
D'Amato of Italy is the beam Olympic champion. It's the first gold for a woman in Italian gymnastics ever for the country of Italy. Rebecca Andrade of Brazil is now the most decorated Brazilian Olympian of all time and your floor Olympic champion. There was an all black podium. It was a day full of drama and shushing, and I have a lot of information on that. It's August 5th, and we're coming to you live from Paris. Welcome to the number one gymnastics podcast in the galaxy. I'm Jessica, and here with Spencer from the Balance Beam Situation, and this is an everyone episode. So we have a lot to cover today, and we're going to start with beam so that we can start with floor so that floor makes sense. So
did that make sense? Okay. So what happened on beam, just briefly, we'll do beam in detail and Alicia D'Amato winning. But important context of beam as we talk about floor was what happened with Simone and the neutral deduction that I want to talk about on beam.
Simone and the deduction is my favorite children's book.
Yeah, it's a great one. So Simone fell on beam, back handspring, layout, step out, was supposed to do another layout, step out, and was like, nope, that's not happening. I'm just going to walk backwards for a while, and now I'm off the beam. So she was out of the medals on beam, but then when her score came up, we also saw a 3/10 neutral deduction. And we still don't, we don't get receipts, so we don't have official confirmation. The best we can figure, and I think the internet agrees that the best we can come up with is this was a 3/10 neutral deduction for not saluting the judges at the end of her routine, which is, first of all, some bullshit. Because she kind of did. She finished her routine, she presented, and then she was like, did kind of like a fuck my life half toward the judges, which is a skill in the code of points, obviously. And kind of acknowledged them, but also was like, I hate this routine and I hate beam and I'm never doing it ever again, maybe. Get me out of here. But I think, first of all, saluted enough. And second of all, that's a stupid rule anyway, so get rid of it. Anyway, it did not affect the outcome of beam because Simone had fallen. She finished fifth. The 3/10 neutral deduction did not make a difference. And we're looking at, if you're a visual listener, we're looking at screenshots now of Simone. Okay, it's like a fuck my life quarter, eighth.
Yeah, she landed. She put her arms up in the air.
She kind of turned,
and then she turned. Her arms were still up, and then she put them down as she turned. I mean, yeah.
But the reason we especially need to establish that before we talk about the drama that was floor was we need to establish the best moment of these entire Olympics / maybe gymnastics of all time. Because after that happened on beam, Simone finishes her floor routine and
then just stands there in a salute for like 45 seconds,
for 45
smiling
minutes,
at the judges,
and then walks off, continuing in a salute the entire time, because that is the level we're looking for. Simone is a member of the Gymternet. No one has ever pretended otherwise, and she gets it. That was the best moment of the day. The worst moment of the day was literally everything else that happened, but that was the best moment of the day.
Saluting and then keeping her arms all the way up in salute, turning and walking all the way off the floor, all the way off the podium, all the way down the stairs with her arms up in the air was the most like, you're on my list and I don't forget anything and you're welcome, like F you to the beam judges ever. It was my favorite thing. I laughed out loud so hard, and the guy next to me was like I don't know what he was doing there. He was not covering gymnastics. He just seemed to be sitting there with a credential taking video, but he was like, what happened? And I was like, dude, this is the best moment that's ever happened. It's going to be like, oh, that's too bad, but way better. That's how great it was.
That was fantastic.
Oh my God.
Everything else was awful. But we did have, okay, so we're talking about floor. Go in depth on floor first.
Let's start with floor and then we'll go back to
start with floor, go in depth on floor. Okay. Favorite, Simone Biles to win floor because she had the highest score on floor for every competition we've done so far at the Olympics and / maybe her entire life. But what happened with Simone's floor is that she went out of bounds with both feet twice, and incurred 6/10 in neutral deductions. So Andrade had already gone. She did a really clean routine. I think definitely her best tumbling landings of the Olympics so far. Her leaps were still not all the way around, not for credit. There was a little, awkwardness in trying to pull around her 1.5 attempt. That's where you're getting the maiden deductions for Andrade's routine, I think, is in leap completion. But tumbling, best landing, she had scored a 14.166. Simone goes with 6/10 of neutral deductions. I was like, okay, based on how she had scored for similar routines so far in the Olympics, because she didn't land as well in this one overall as she did in the all-around final. Her Biles was magnificent. She stuck that right into the corner and needed to, but she had some big lack of control on a couple other passes.
Yep.
And so I was like, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, the irony of her score in the end, which she got a 6/10 neutral deduction for how much she went out of bounds, was that in the warm up she looked like her calf was hurting her.
Mm-hmm.
She warmed up one pass and then waved Laurent off, like, I'm not doing anymore. And he kind of went over and talked to Cecile, and they were like, and then at the very end, like the last couple seconds you could do a warm up on floor, she was like, okay, I'm gonna go. And she did her triple double and just kerplopped onto her butt and like bounced into the corner. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh no, her leg's gonna fall off. I don't know if she could do it. I was totally worried. And she could have just done that in the routine practically for all the out of bounds that she had. There were so many out of bounds. It was more than half a point, is what I'm saying. That's how.
Yeah. So what it ended up is based on what she had scored previously in the Olympics for that kind of routine. I was like, oh, this is either going to be a 14.1 or a 14.2. Andrade had just scored a 14.166. So it was very close. It ended up Simone coming in with 14.133, just behind Andrade. I think it's borderline, and you have like basically a 50-50 argument either way. And if you go back and rescore these, I think you could come up with different winners. It's that close for me. But in terms of satisfying, well, first of all, like in terms of Andrade's performance, you're glad that this Olympics included a gold medal, because it's like, what you have done earned a gold medal. And, Simone and Jordan also knowing the power of a photo and the power of, a moment, or bowing to Andrade on the Olympic podium. They're like, this is correct.
They talked about that in the, so we're going to show a picture of this in a minute, but they talked about this in the, one second.
Oh no, what is happening?
So the thing that happened I have to say, there was only like 2 good questions in the press conference because they didn't call on me. But right. One person did ask, hey, there's this photo that's going viral right now. Like, tell us about this photo. And so Simone said, they were like, oh, how are we going to like honor Rebecca? And they decided they were going to bow to her. And so that is the photo of them bowing to her. First, they like take her hands, like they're going to like kiss her hands, and then they bow to her and she puts her hands in the air. It's so great. And this is the all black podium. That's so exciting. I kind of think this might be the first all black podium ever in artistic gymnastics, men's or women's, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So I'll have to fact check it, but I'm very confident in saying that. And it's very exciting, but I'm not 100% positive.
I'm not sure. I'm just very confident.
I'm very confident.
The Jessica O'Byrne story.
Yes, pretty much. But I love that they did that. And they were just like, we love competing with her. She's so great. She deserves it. And she's always been so kind to us. Like, we wanted to repay it. And I just love that they did that. It made this podium. It softened the podium for me, because even though I've always known Jordan Chiles could win an Olympic medal, I've said this since she was 12 years old. But for me, I was like, was it actually Ana Barbosa? Let's talk about those routines.
Let's talk about this moment. Okay, so
heartbreaking.
It's close. Ana Barbosa, who had gone earlier in the lineup on floor, got a 13.7, had an out of bounds, but a really good routine. A lot of people had been struggling. We'll talk about beam and high bar later. It was a struggle bus of a day. And we'll talk about also the length of the competition and how that might factor in, because I think there's some interesting things to dissect there. But people have been going out of bounds. People have been struggling, but Barbosa did a pretty strong routine for 13.7. Sabrina Voinea, her Romanian teammate, also got a 13.7, but was behind her on execution, had submitted an inquiry already. So we were waiting on that. And then Chiles' score comes in. It's a 13.666, puts her in 5th place, just behind Barbosa and Voinea. Then they do Voinea's inquiry. Inquiry rejected. Barbosu has the bronze medal. She's up. She's cheering. She's got the Romanian flag. She's up on the podium. She's celebrating. The competition is over. And then the inquiry for Chiles routine comes in. And she was given, her routine was reviewed. She was given an extra 10th, 5-9 difficulty, bumped her up into a bronze medal position. And then we have Jordan Chiles celebrating her bronze medal as Ana Barbosa is on the podium looking at the scoreboard and seeing what happened with this limp Romanian flag next to her. Like,
it
horrible.
was so sad. Like, we all know, and it's not a comparison of who's been through worse things in their lives, but we all know what, like, Ana Barbosa was so bullied by Romanian gymnastics that she quit gymnastics completely, and it's only getting new coaches and new people running the whole elite program that got her to stay and got her back to this point. And Romania qualified as a team, and they made it the team final, and she qualified to the floor final. And they're laying out the foundation for, like, here's how you do artistry and don't have to do all the difficulty and get high enough E-scores. And then we have Jordan, who's been through horrible abusive coaches, which we covered in the team final episode, and has also been through so much. But I was like, Jordan, you already have like a team gold. Like, let Ana Barbosa just, please. She needs
almost
one
like
nice
your
thing.
medal is not based on what you've been through in your life.
I know,
but rather
it's
the
like
routine that you performed.
just
But it is
about
controversial.
gymnastics. Yes.
This is very controversial that Jordan Chiles got this 5-9. So the going in here, basically,
Yes.
if anyone is gonna yell "Booyah, told you so" into a mic today, it's Cecile Landy, because basically what happened with Jordan Chiles' routine all year long, all summer long, process long, we've been like, okay, the dance elements are wrong in this routine,
Right.
and they changed some of them. They got rid of that leg up hop full, which was a good idea, but they kept the split leap 1.5, also called a Gojian, in this routine. Jordan has never been close to getting that around at nationals, at trials, so far in this Olympics. It has never been close. Today, I don't know what happened. The spirit of the Olympic flame possessed this woman, and she did the best split leap 1.5 by 1,000 miles that she has done in her whole entire life. Now, I still think it was a little under. And the precedent of how they've been evaluating the leaps at these Olympics, I'm like, it's still a little under. It's by far the best she's ever done it, but it's still questionable. But they inquired, because you got to inquire and you got to be ready to inquire. And it goes to the superiors, not the judges who are judging the routines. It goes to the specials. And they were like, this is close enough. This is around for the first time. We're going to give Jordan Chiles credit for this. So she's up to a 5-9. So this is extremely controversial, but also I expect Cecile Landy to post like 1,000 I told you so gifs about her floor composition at this point.
I mean, that's the thing. It was so smart to do. So basically what happens, we have a question about how the inquiries work. Basically, the only thing you can inquire on is your D scores. So the value of your routine, not the deductions for how you perform the routine. That's the execution score. And so you have to have a piece of paper ready, which I've always said, you always have to have your piece of paper ready, already filled out with any grievances, any protests, any inquiries, because you only have until the end of the rotation to turn it in. And if you don't turn it in on a time, that's it. Which is why Paul Hamm didn't win an Olympic Games. So, no, that's why he did when he shouldn't have. It was actually another gymnast who should have won. So, but good for him, because they did the rules. So, that's all you can be, is like, hey, you didn't give her credit for this leap, or you didn't give her credit for her double layout, or you didn't give her credit for her full turn. Here's what's supposed to be in the routine. Can you please rewatch it and see if you missed giving credit? And that's what happened. They said, oh yeah, this is a complete da-da-da. Because at first I was like, well, it can't be the wolf turn, because she messed up her wolf turn. It was not right. But then that leap, I was like, oh, she's not going to get it, because it looked to me the same way she normally does it. But then Cecile was like, oh, actually,
it was better. It was a lot better. I think it was still under.
I trust your eye and the different angles, because I was watching it live, and then I also watched it on the OBS camera, and I don't know which angle they were showing on TV on NBC or Peacock versus what I was seeing on the screen. But I think it's always a little questionable. But I think it's so. This is why you have good coaches who inquire. You should always inquire. This is why you do it. But for me, I'm so happy for Jordan, and I so wish Ana Barbosa had gotten that medal. And I hated to see how it went down.
Do you think there needs to be a change in sort of meet organization / process so you don't have a situation where Barbosa is up on the podium with her flag celebrating a medal that then 2 seconds later she doesn't have anymore because the inquiry is still being evaluated? Is there a way to just avoid that moment?
I mean, I guess the way to do it is to educate the athletes more and be like, it's not over until, but that's the thing. We didn't know. There's still how long from her routine. Jordan was the last up on floor, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you have to get, how long is it? Like a minute if you're the last one that you have to turn it in? It's very soon after your score comes up.
It was like immediate. Cecile was they were like,
Yeah.
it's already submitted. Are you
You
done with
don't
the
have to
score?
know the
We've
score
already
here.
submitted. Like, great.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I think the thing is to just be like, don't celebrate until you know for sure the time limit is up on an inquiry. But then what if it's in, but they haven't announced it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I would have thought it was fine too for her to go up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they can flash a timer that everyone can see. That's the inquiry limit. Like they do green and red for athletes to know when it's time to do the routine or not. That's something we could do. I was fine with Voinea not getting her inquiry. She didn't get her inquiry accepted, which means they said that the D score was as is and they didn't miss anything. Because I'm stoked for her for Romania, but like it's a very sloppy, I would say sloppy gymnastics in general. Like sometimes it's brilliant and sometimes it's all over the place, like her beam today. You just never quite know what you're gonna get. But yeah.
A transition to talk about beam, or do you have more about floor? I mean, obviously there's more we can talk about on floor, but in terms of an overview.
In terms of the overview, I really think we need 2 new adult children's books, which are going to be called Simone and the, what did you call it?
I don't remember what I say.
Simone and I don't give a fuck salute, and Simone's never ending salute. Did you see that I saluted? Do you have it? Yes. This salute, walk off the podium. That was so great. That's what no one asked about. And that's what I was going to ask about. And I just wanted her to know, like, when did you decide you were going to do that? And what did the judges' faces look like? Because I'm sure they laughed when she was doing that. But let's go back to beam so we can talk about extensively
the actual most stressful final of the day.
Oh my god, beam. Oh,
so beam went full beam on all of us. And it ruined right from the start because Jo Yachin went first and was doing perfectly as always and did her side jumps in combination, but the last one, the straight jump full, was a whole straight jump full about everything, and she grabbed the beam.
Just so upsetting because she's so good. This is where she does the side flip to a tuck jump full to a straight jump full all in a row. And it was going so good and she did it in warm up so well. I was talking to Lori Hernandez about it before because she's like, who do you think? And I was like, yes, Jo Yachin. And we were talking about the combination, how insane it is and how hard it is and how well she does it. And we're like, yes, she's the one. And I was like, but then also Manila Esposito because I love her. Esposito. But yes, this was very, very upsetting. And I'm still not over it. And her handspring front was so nice. Oh, and her triple full dismount. I just love her. Anyway, don't worry, guys.
It seemed like a medal was out of the picture after she went because of who was still had to come. And everyone else was like, no, don't worry. You're still going to get silver because it's a big old mess. So in terms of favorites for medals, Suni fell on her series, split the beam and got fully ejected from it.
It was so weird. She landed, she always gainers that aerial layout, and she always just somehow manages to stay on the beam. But this time she was on, but she stepped down with her left leg, and her foot was not on the beam. So that foot disappeared under the beam and she straddled and then fully belly flopped on the other side. I was like, oh, it's not just a straddle the beam, it's a whack belly flop. She was pissed. But then she watched the replay over and over. I don't know if you could see this on the broadcast, but she was watching the replay and just could not stop laughing about it. The replay made her laugh at her fall, which is great because when that happens, that's the only thing to do.
And then we had, Julia Suarez fell. Sabrina Voinea fell a couple times in her routine. We talked about Simone falling, and it was just all over the place. But then Alicia D'Amato was like, I have been the victim of a robbery called the Paris Olympics, and I would like to file a complaint, and the police were like, yes, we accept your complaint. You will hit a lovely beam routine that's maybe a little wobblier than your all-around routine, but we're going to give you the highest execution score there's ever been as a reward for your excellence, and you will win the most surprising, by far the most surprising gold medalist of these Olympics. You would not have had Alice D'Amato on your top 10 most likely beam winners heading into this Olympics, but her beam is lovely and she won gold.
865 score
566, yeah.
beam. Yeah. On beam, you guys. Beam. That's
in
basically
women's
like,
gymnastics, not like men's gymnastics where they're like, you can be ugly and it's fine.
that's basically like a 9-9 on vault. That's how high that is. I thought that when she had two little wobbles after leaps, and I was like, oh, I think Esposito is going to get it.
She had some little wobbles. She had that like a little hop forward on her front tuck. Like, I do think she was more solid in the all around for an 8-2 score.
Yeah, I thought Esposito had it. Save of the meet though for Esposito, because
he did have a large wobble error. It was just in this competition that counted as the most brilliant hit of all time. On her aerial, it was a big leg up wobble. So I'm fine with the order of everything on beam, actually. Because I thought Esposito got rewarded well for her routine in 8-2 execution with a huge correction. But she was like, actually, I'm going to stay on the beam because I still have a foot for right now. Then I'm going to rotate to floor and do a double layout, and we'll see if I still have a foot after that. Maybe questionable. But when the beam final was going on, she still had a foot, and she hit, and she stayed on the beam, and she got a 14, and she fulfilled Jessica's dreams and got a bronze medal.
Yay! Which made me so happy. Other surprises, Andrade on beam.
Yes. Okay. So she did her routine. Definitely Andrade went last, and it was like, a medal is here for you / potentially a gold medal. Yep. Like, here is the platter. Would you like it? And she hit a very clean routine. It was a lovely routine. Well executed, should get a high execution score. But it was a little shaky, and she took out an entire combination.
She missed her
She just did aerial wobble and did not do aerial split ring series bonus.
Yep.
And so her D score ended up being quite a bit lower than we expected. And that's what kept her out of the medals on beam. So, I don't know if that was just an in the moment decision, if that was planned beforehand, or if she was just like, oh, I'm just a little off, so I'm not going to do it. But it ended up 4/10. She was 4/10 lower than expected on beam, which, would have been silver if she had done her full composition. So that was, I think it was a surprising thing when the score came up, because I was just like, yeah, that was a clean routine, and not really processing that versus her intended composition. And then it was like, oh yeah, right, that was lower. That's a 5.7 score.
Yep.
So yeah, a little bit surprising, but it makes sense when you look at what she actually performed in the routine.
Julia Suarez too was a bummer. She has that cool back dive half mount. She had a lot of adjustments. She did a lot of balking in her warm up, like she did in podium training. Not as bad as podium training. Was like 10 times back and forth before she do a backward skill, but there was a little bit of that today. Then she fell on her tour jeté. That was a bummer for her. But she also, like, everyone had a very good attitude about it. Like, no one was like crumpling in tears. I was like, oh, perspective in life. This is really nice. This makes me very happy. But let us now revisit there's two things I want to revisit before we get to the neutral deduction for the nonsense that was the saluting. I want to talk about the shushing. So I don't know if you could hear this on TV. Could you guys hear it at all?
I was not paying attention and did not know that this was a thing, but other people will let you know.
There was extremely aggressive shushing during beam, to the point where I literally leaned over to the person next to me. No one next to me was French, but I leaned over to the guy next to me and I was like, what are they doing? Because obviously it was such aggressive shushing, it couldn't possibly be shushing. I thought maybe it was like a whooshing noise they made as a sound of approval for beam routines. I haven't heard this the whole time on beam. So I was like, what? Or any event. So I didn't know what was happening. And he was like, they're shushing. And I was like, it's shushing, right? What is happening? So basically, when teammates or anyone was encouraging, like you do in sports, you yell things at the person you want to do well in sports. Teammates were yelling, the Brazilian team, the Romanian team, all yelling at whoever was on beam. The crowd was shushing the people, shushing them so aggressively. I mean, it was like long, protracted shushes, like angry. I was like, are these people from golf? Do they not understand attraction beam routines? Have they never seen NCAA? Like, I was so confused. Like, so finally I was like, okay, I don't want to just assume that this is like the patriarchy, and because no one shushes the men for any of their encouraging, that all these people are hearing women's voices and they're like, ooh, we don't like the sound of that, and so they're shushing. I don't want to assume that as a white American woman. Let me reach out to my French friend Laura Cavelli, who's here, and ask her what's going on. As a dance critic, theater person, she can explain. So I was like, I don't want to assume, but what the fuck is this? So she said that the shushing, the way they're doing it there, was a sign of respect, that they were treating beam like art. So they were shushing like you would in theater if someone's talking during the performance in a theater. And I was like, oh, okay. And I can see that because the way they presented gymnastics here, they start with turning the floor into a canvas, and they have an art display from like famous French artists with gymnastics mixed in as the floor, as the canvas. And it's really cool. And then they have the torque thing where they bang the thing on the floor to start. And they have a famous gymnast come out and do the banging. They have a video about the banging. This is what they do in theater and in the opera in France. And then they also have ballerinas and dancers do a performance. All of this stuff happens before the gymnastics meet starts. So I was like, okay, but then why don't they do it for the men? And then I was like, oh, wait, there's no artistry in men's gymnastics. That's why. Okay. So I'm giving the French a tiny bit of a pass on this because, but I
you
still
don't need to, don't be quiet during beam. That's not a thing.
Yeah, but I was like, no, people. And then one person in the press conference did ask, like, what did you guys think of the shushing? And they were just like, it was so weird. We don't know what that was. We've never, ever been in a meet where they were shushing. It was just so strange. So now hopefully the French know it's sports. You yell things during sports, but only nice things. Unless it's at the
no one wants silence during a beam routine.
No, they like Simone literally
no one wants to be alone with their thoughts anyway, let alone while you're on beam.
Like Simone was saying, it was so quiet. We could hear someone's phone ringing. When she said the Android phone ring sound specifically, we could hear the cameras clicking. It was so quiet. And she said they have asked for music, but it didn't happen. So this leads me to let's talk about, since we're
saying that the beam final was such a mess because it was too quiet.
It's because the shushing ruined it. That's what I'm going to say. But let's talk about the sexism that is a 0.3 neutral deduction for failing to salute. And let's compare that. Let's do a compare and contrast. Men's gymnastics versus women's gymnastics. Simone Biles, Black woman, getting a deduction for, we assume, failing to salute, which she did salute, versus men acting like toddlers, throwing absolute tantrums. And if fact checker could bring up Exhibit A, please.
I mean, I will say this came up most specifically in the Tokyo Olympics with men's gymnastics.
So we are looking at Nestor Abad, who during the Tokyo Olympics came off the rings podium, and his teammate put his hand out for a small five. And instead he he terrorized the floor and everyone around it by throwing his grip bag on the floor so hard that he slides and his teammate like backs up. And he also yelled when he did this. Like, I was there in Tokyo. I heard it. I saw the puff of chalk and I was like, what the hell? And I expected him to get a deduction. So I went back and looked I was like, let me just make sure. I remember him not getting a deduction, right, in Tokyo. So I went back and looked and I was like, I don't see anything. So then I went to Kensley, who's working for NBC, and I was like, Kensley.
Oh, brother.
Jessica,
half remembering an example that doesn't apply and then asking Kensley.
Well, listen, this is why it does apply, because so he never got a deduction. There was no neutral deduction taken from the team for what he did. This applies because there is a specific deduction for failing to, in the women's code, it is specifically called failure to acknowledge the D judges before and after an exercise, which is the salute, which is a 3/10 deduction. But there's also the behavior deductions, the just being a dick or not wearing modest makeup deductions, which comes away from the team. So he could have gotten that deduction, which is essentially the same thing. It's on different places in the code, but it falls under behavior and respecting the sport, right? So I was like, let
But I
me
think
make
it's
sure.
a completely different situation.
Yeah, but I'm using this example because men, nothing ever happens to men, and
What,
Simone
at the
got the same
Tokyo Olympics, it
deduction.
was the whole thing with the Chinese men not saluting the judges, and they got the 0.3 deduction.
Yes, but
That was the whole. It was the whole thing of this was in men's gymnastics.
yeah, but this is worse. This is what I'm saying. This is worse than that, and they didn't get a deduction. Okay, go on. You make your point.
No, that was my point. That I think that like the Nestor Abad example is a completely different situation, and there were men at the Tokyo Olympics who got this deduction. That's when we started talking about it. I will also say there have definitely, as we talked about before at these Olympics, been men who super happy celebrated at the end of their routine instead of saluting the judges and did not get deducted. So that's your argument. I think that's a much more convincing argument than the Nestor Abad example.
I like
You
the
could
Nestor.
like Samir Ait Saeed landing his rings dismount in qualification and being super overjoyed because he was going to make the rings final. It's France, and he was, the only French gymnast to make an individual final. It ended up, but like celebrated and didn't salute the judges immediately because he was celebrating. So I think there's your example.
Which has been a point of discussion here a lot about how much, like, so many people have just been like, is this just NCAA gymnastics now? Like, what has happened to Olympic gymnastics? Like no one's saluting, they're just celebrating at the end. But I point to Nestor Abad because I feel like it's so much more egregious, and yet nothing happened to him. Whereas it was clear the Chinese men didn't salute, but Simone did salute, and she still got this deduction. And we think, and they watched it took so long to get her score. And I kept looking because normally when the score has taken a long time, the judges are just sitting there like, we're done. It's your problem. But the judges were on the phone which is a headset now, disappointingly, to the head
Dustin wants it to
table.
be an avocado landline.
Oh, the old days. They need to bring that back just for effect. So they were on the headset talking back and forth for a while. And I was like, wow, this really is the score. It's not a computer thing or whatever the holdup is. So I hope that I hope that we raise enough stink about this that we do get an actual answer, because there should be specific answers for what a neutral deduction is. We should get receipts, which is another thing we've been talking about for a long time. But yeah, I am just, this is like,
I mean, I agree it's dumb and inconsistent to take this deduction from Simone in this case.
Yeah. We always agree with each other. We just like to argue about it. I think, before we get to this, hold that for 1 second. I do think that this may have been a reaction to not Simone in this moment, but a reaction to Simone's behavior over the competition, which I think there is absolutely nothing wrong with. But I think because Simone has so much gravitas and so people pay so much attention to her, I think that maybe they were like, oh, you're crawling down the podium and then vaulting. Like, we don't like this. It's too much of things we don't like. We're going to make you an example out of you with this. I don't agree with that. I'm trying to figure out why they did this. The only other thing I can think is if she, as she saluted, said "fuck," or that routine was.
I think we can see her. I think that didn't happen.
No, could you see her face when she turned?
I think so.
I can only see it when she got to the end of the podium, so she may have already gotten out all of the expletives. But also I'm like, yeah, since when did the men not do that? But so that I'm proposing maybe it's about more than this one moment. But I also think no matter what, it's wrong. And also, you should just learn many other languages to cuss in. That's the real lesson. What was that question that we just had?
If the 0.3 neutral deduction would have been the decider for a medal for Simone, could Cecile have put in an inquiry?
That's what I remember. I was
You
like,
talk about something. I'll read
Okay.
the technical regulations for artistic. And
Okay,
then
well, you do that. I'm going to tell everybody what's happening. So, if you're new here, welcome. We hope you, if you're like a 4-year fan and you're like, oh my God, I didn't know there's a place I could get all the dirt about what's actually happening at the meets, not just what I see on TV. You found us. Welcome. We're trying to bring you along so you can enjoy this all year long, not just during the Olympics. So we've been doing this for, it'll be 12 years weekly coming up this September. And I hope you stay with us because we have lots more coming up after the Olympics. We have the Simone's Goat Tour, which I'm going to rehearsals. So I'm going to tell you guys about it before it launches. We have the second half of Simone's documentary series coming out. And we have an interview with the director that you can listen to now. Someone you know might be in that documentary wearing a really cool jacket, and you can buy it on Amazon. I'll put the link up when it comes up. And we have an interview with Nellie Kim coming up, the Soviet multi-time Olympic champion, who is the vice president of the FIG and basically kind of the godmother, stepmother of the code. And she's beloved and feared, and we have many questions for her. We have that planned. And you, if you're a Club Gym member, have access to all of our catalog of extra bonus episodes, extended interviews, behind the scenes, which is a show we do every Friday where we answer questions live, talk about life and whatnot, and talk about what TV shows we're watching and anything that's happening in gymnastics. You get the latest discussion. It's very fun. And we have a live show, our first virtual one, and it'll be up for another week. Right? Another week? Was it? How many days ago was it? Another week and a half. And so you can buy tickets for the replay. And if you need any help, customer service at gymcasting.com. And then our fact checker over here, he wrote a book with Simone Biles' first coach, her coach for 19 of her world and Olympic medals, including her all-around gold through Tokyo. That's Amy Borman. And she talks about all the stuff, the crimes through Rio. Sorry, the crimes, the lawsuits, the ranch, all the things you want to know about. It's called The Balance, and you can pre-order it now on Amazon or on the Barnes and Noble. Spencer, I sense you have an answer.
Oh, I don't. Inconclusive.
Okay.
It's just,
I did want to let everybody know, because I know there's going to be a lot of questions about judging in this specific case, and I know people have already brought up like judges being suspended and there being an investigation into this and there being like all kinds of stuff. People are very up in arms. So we have a 2-part interview up with the person who created the judges evaluation system. So if you want to know exactly how it works, we have a really interesting interview with him in 2 parts. I'll link to it in the show notes. And then I also wanted you to know that part of the way that judging works now is that if you are from a country, you can't judge anyone from that country. So for example, the Beam judges list, there is, no, that's not true. There is one person from China on here. Oh, but she's the D judge.
I mean, there's plenty of judges judging people from their own country in qualification and team finals. And
I thought that was the one thing that they changed now for finals, but I guess not.
For apparatus finals specifically?
For apparatus finals, but I guess not. So this is what you get to hear when we record live is me be like, wait.
Some really classic audio the last few minutes.
But in case you want to know who's judging, so the superior jury, which is who this would have gone to, the floor inquiry for floor was Joanna Gratt, FIG judge. Beam was Kim Dowell. Yeah. So, but otherwise, it's a very
they're the special fancies on the super.
They're the fancy ones. Yeah. But otherwise, it's China, Spain, Austria, Venezuela, Great Britain, Turkey, France, Croatia, Jordan, and then France are the time judges. There's 2 judges.
Should we talk about high bar?
Oh my God.
Because, the dismount situation.
What?
Every single person, and by every single person, I mean half the final, landed short on their double layout.
Landed short is exactly what happened.
That is the exact, there was some schlandings. And then belly flopped forward out of their dismount.
Like legit belly flopped. Like it was like when you're so tired and you just cannot, you made it through the air and you could just stay tight enough to like not land on your face, but your legs have nothing left and they jello on you and you just crumple into belly slide, like slip and slide summer style. That is what happened. Over and over and over. Two people that medaled had falls?
So we had gold medalist Oka Shinosuke, who throughout this Olympics we have talked about was like, hitting is not hard, everybody. I'm going to go to the Olympics and hit every single routine and it's fine. High bar gold, just ahead of Angel Barajas of Colombia, who tied but was silver on the execution score tiebreak. Great routine. And then everyone else was like, nope, we're done. So Tang Chehong of Taiwan and Zhang Bohong of China tied for bronze, both with falls.
With falls. Also, did you notice?
Everyone fell except 2 people. 6 people fell.
Yeah, literally, the people that didn't fall are gold and silver. That's how bad it was.
And then everyone else fell. It's including Tin Servich 116 times, and that was very devastating.
That was so upsetting because his high bar is so good, and I was so excited for him. And then he just fell, and then he fell again. And I thought he got hurt the first time he fell because he fell like with his hands like kind of down at the mat, and then he kind of looked at his arm, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, but also, he completely redid his grips afterward and took a long time.
Yep. Did you notice?
Also, he took too long to remount, but did not get a neutral deduction.
Yeah, I didn't see it either, and I was wondering if they were because they didn't do it because they were like, oh, his grips.
Well, did your grips break? Because then get a redo.
I don't know. This is the other thing I'm saying is there needs to be going back to Simone and the saluting thing and the men's behavior. The men's and women's committee need to have some cohesion with the way they interpret the rules, because the men can just do anything they want and the women still have to be like little girls in pretty boxes, and I'm not okay with it. That's what I'm saying. Even though it's better on the women's side, I feel like now we've taken a step back with this salute gate. Salute gate. Do we have a gate now, Spencer? Can we agree this is a gate?
Sure. You can gate it. I'll allow a gate.
Another gate, flag gate. Did you notice that the tie is between China and Taiwan, also known by China as Chinese Taipei, which we do not call it. We call it Taiwan. And the Taiwanese flag was below the Chinese flag, even though they tied.
One flag does have to be below the other logistically.
Nope. They could have changed the way they did the flag thingy so there was a longer dinksbooms on the end.
I don't know if you could do that immediately. I mean, I'm saying I'll go there with you. I'm just saying I think that was logistical.
I think in order to prevent an international incident, which in my mind has occurred, they should have them next to each other and not one above the other. Because that looks bad. So everything else at this meet was perfect. Like there was no problems with the equipment. No one complained about the training hall stuff. Like there was nothing like what happened at track and field where like the 2 gold medalist favorites got locked out of the entrance to the warm-up gym and had to walk for an hour to the other warm-up place and didn't get to warm up. Like none of that stuff happened. Like beside the village had some issues, but the gymnastics venue seemed to be everything was so well handled. But the flag people we need to speak with. That's a different the military.
My question for you, unrelated to that rant, is so we had a really tired looking high bar final and some other a rough day in a lot of respects, even though the Olympics has an extra rest day added in for artistic gymnastics on the trampoline day. And they spread the event finals over 3 days, which one would think would give people more rest. But do you think that had an influence on what happened here?
I don't know. I'm going to have to go back and see what the men said in their press conference, because I wasn't able to make their press conferences today and see what they had to say. But like, it's so long. I mean, you're basically competing for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So on the one hand, I feel like, well, it's better they have a rest day. And it should be like, it's the one thing, is it better to have all your competition in for 2 days, or is it better you still have like so much adrenaline for 3 days of competition in a row? Maybe they should go back to 2. Or maybe men should just have too many events, and it's not fair that they can earn 6 medals and women only have 4 for events, and so they should get rid of 2 of men's events. Or they should have 2, get rid of 2 men's events and have 2 gender mixed pairs like judo does and other events, because that's fun.
I feel like I think everyone has had the experience of being like on a vacation that's supposed to be like nice and relaxing, and then it's too long and you get mad at the end.
Yes.
And it's now I'm tired and I'm cranky and I'm mad. And that's like that's a vacation. That's not even the Olympics, where there's a lot of stress and pressure and all that. And sometimes the length of the competition, even if you're not competing, is exhausting.
But this is
even
shorter
if you have an alleged rest day.
But this is shorter than long worlds.
When it comes to 2 days of qualification and 2 days of podium training.
It's shorter.
Well, so, you're adding a day of podium, extra day of podium training for men, extra day of podium training for women, extra day of qualification for men, extra day of qualification for women. Versus here, you're adding just a rest day and an extra day of event finals. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like we can't really necessarily blame that because there's a Worlds that's longer. I don't know. I feel like it was secretly the men like subconsciously protesting about the fact that the FIG made, or the IOC, I don't know who, decided to make women's floor the final event, as it always should have been, and not men's high bar, which it has been since. Uncle Tim said, what did he tell us? The 40s? It's been men's high bar has been. It used to be women's artistic something. It was like a rhythmic thing that they ended with, and then it became men's high bar.
Portable apparatus.
Thank you. Portable apparatus.
That's where Latina's hidden final medal came. Mm-hmm. Her missing medal came from.
Missing medal, portable apparatus.
When the teams also had to do rhythmic in addition. Which, like, imagine asking the U.S. women's team this year, like, what if you also had to do rhythmic as part of this competition?
1952 was when women had that. I had to describe to a reporter here what this portable apparatus thing was, because they were like, what was it that missing? And they were like, what do you mean portable apparatus? And so I had to describe, like, those pictures where they're in the field and they walk around and they do this, it's like, and they pose on things, and there's basically a ribbon, but they do it as a group. It's that. More or less. It's nothing like gymnastics now, is what I'm telling you.
I love those group performances from those very early Olympics, where they were just like, you can use anything you want and do whatever. And those are the rules.
It's fine. And everybody wears the same outfit. You're wearing a jumper. No, is it a jump? Well, it's an American. It's a jumper, but it's not a sweater for the Britishes. Where it's like a shorts and a shirt, but connected as one piece. It's like a onesie with shorts.
You're describing what the men compete in.
Yes, but the women also competed in the same thing. That's what I'm saying.
You're describing like a singlet, basically.
Yeah, except it wasn't tight. It was, and everyone had armpit hair, regardless of gender. Oh, the good old days. Speaking of, I just want to, before we get to Laura's question, this is very important.
Laura, no. Now that Laura says, I'm a diplomat for the UN, and I agree, read China and the Chinese Taipei flag. This is a huge diplomatic faux pas, and IOC should check protocol in the future.
Jessica's right again. Everybody mark that down on your chalkboard.
You were so ready to move on. You were like, this dumb question. You were like, someone says I'm right?
I was like, diplomat? Yes, obviously.
Diplomat, the UN says I'm right?
We both
Yes, I mean, I agree. They shouldn't have.
Oh, yes. Spencer agrees now. He sees how you could have a longer pole.
No, I think that wasn't logistically possible in the current situation, but it should have been made possible. I'm agreeing with you that it should have been made possible.
They have a giant disco ball that hangs from the ceiling at the beginning of the meet, and then it goes in the rafters. If you can have a giant disco ball, you could have a longer pole you can have an extender pole for when
they should do it. They should do it. We are in agreement. They should do it.
We are. It's that time when we've been podcasting together.
I think it was a faux pas. I think it was an unintentional, is what I'm saying. I don't think anyone thought about it.
Was it? That's why you have to avoid these things.
Right. You have to avoid these things. You have to be aware of them. I think no one even for one moment even thought about that. when they were putting up the flags, which is bad. You should think about that. But I'm saying I don't think there was any intent here.
That's the whole point of etiquette, is avoiding questions of intent, not hurting anyone's feelings. But I do want to talk about Sugino from Japan.
Yeah.
He did the craziest. I mean, it was just a dumpster fire of high bar, basically the whole thing, except Okta. But Sugino's pegging to basically one arm catch accidentally with just the dowel but no fingers. And then it was so amazing. But then he went for his Casina and he just basically did Casina to concussion. And I was like, oh God, stop. Please don't keep going. But of course, then he did the whole rest of his routine. But a pagan is just so crazy and so cool. And I just feel the need to always alert. Like there should be a little, like, not okay, but they have lasers in this arena, which they didn't use today, thank God, because hopefully enough people complained about the laser show. But literally it's like they start and I instantly get a headache, and I'm not the only one. I have to like cover my eyes, and like it's such like a toddler in a concert or something, like I feel like there should be a gentle alarm, like maybe a siren with a light that goes around when someone's about to do a Casina. So it's like, look over there, quick, it's coming. Or not a pagan, sorry. Well, Casina's cool, but lots of people do them. But pagan,
like every single routine in the high bar,
everyone has a Casina. But a pagan is so scary and nuts. And yeah.
I'll give credit to the Vonstrom from Tung Cha Hung. That's the coolest skill, I thought, in the high bar final. It's like a Lucan, but you started it from swinging back, so it's 1.5 twists to catch.
Yes, I like that too. That was one of the coolest ones, and he got a medal.
And fell and got a medal,
and
which I'm sure he did not. That was an emotional roller coaster.
I still am gonna say that, like, I proposed this long ago during the Bart Calamity Jane Berlot and Epke Zonderland, many concussions, sinus problem days, is that high bar needs to have those crash airbags that they have for old people to wear. So if they fall over, it just airbags you, and they need this for high bar. It's just too everyone just like there should just have been a 15-minute pause for a concussion protocol basically in almost every single one of the routines today. Like it's too dangerous. Or just do it over water or a pit. Just blow out an eardrum. It'll be fine. Gymnastics is dangerous. I don't know if you guys have heard.
PBars is not going to get a lot of play today because it was like not that dramatic. And Zhou Jingyuan won because obviously he did. And he was, as long as he just like showed up and coughed, he was going to win this final because he's so much better than everyone else in it. And then we had Kovtun, pretty routine, silver medal. Oka, another routine because he was like, I know how to hit gymnastics. 15-3. Pretty straightforward, pretty expected in terms of the final. Lucas Dowser, who was touch and go to make this Olympics at all, made the final, was not able to produce his ideal routine, but made the final. It would have been a more of a medal contender at full strength.
Zhou's routine was just nuts. It's so good that even I can tell it's that good of a PBar routine. Yeah. He got a 16-2. A 16-2.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything wrong, is the thing.
Nothing. Got a 9-3 execution, like 9-3, and it's not vault. That's how perfect it was. Like, I don't actually understand, like, except for his dismount, his legs coming apart, what did he get a deduction on? It's so perfect. It's so good. Like, it is the equivalent of a Michaela Maroney Almanar. That's how good his execution on this PBar routine is. Like, I'm a fan, and I think PBar is so boring, and I'm obsessed with him and his PBars. It's so good. But it was exciting to see scores this high, too, and awesome for Ukraine. So I am pleased with that. Also...
Less awesome for Oleg, who did fall, but awesome for Ilya.
Awesome for... Yeah. Equestrians wear an inflatable vest. What the hell, man? What? where is the conference of international sports people coming together and be like, head injuries? You too? You too? Hey, we have a solution. All right, I'm on this. What brand do they use? Let me know.
Jessica's gonna start a campaign for men to wear inflatable vests on high bar, and they're all gonna be like, no, and then that's gonna be the end of that.
Like, we don't care enough about our brains.
Yeah.
But I wanted to also mention, I mean, I feel like beam, they should be worn too, but they could make them, maybe people would go for it if they were more elegant. I bet if they look like big gold chains, we could get like the Croatians and the Chinese men to wear them. They have these little like pre-created, very handy event finals bios for us on the athletes, and I just wanted to read you some of the important information that we got today.
Good.
In here, which is that Wataru from Japan always takes a bath before competition.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, very important. And then Oka from Japan, our all-around Olympic champion, he enjoys eating udon noodles just as a hobby, not before meets, but his hobby is eating udon noodles. And I was like, that is
pretty lame factoids, I'm gonna say. I think we can do better.
That is the most.
Like, Wataru doesn't like to go to a competition like he just woke up in a ditch. Good. I mean, it does separate him from like half the men's competitors in men's gymnastics, where like, I didn't pack a toothbrush and I went to the Olympics. So that's good, but like kind of normal. And I also think eating udon is a pretty normal activity.
I feel like it's the most college boy hobby, athlete hobby. What do you like to do? Eat. You're an athlete. I like to eat. What do you like to eat? Yeah, ramen or udon. Like, yes, carbs. That's what I like. That's what I need.
I think we can step up the factoids.
Yeah, I feel like, or you could just reword them. Then they would be more fun. Okay. There are also, I counted 11 female photographers on the floor today, you guys.
Wow, look at that.
We have some Daniel facts before we get to more questions.
Okay.
Let's see. Some changes and upgrades. Covton upped his D from qualification by 0.3. Esposito also upped her D on beam. Barbosu upped her D on floor. Let's see. Oh, Andrade improved by over 2/10 on floor.
Mm-hmm.
And
her execution.
Yeah. And then E-score champions Zoe on bars, or PBars, obviously. Because it's like the highest possible score you can get not on vault. And high bar, Aka he broke into the 8.633 on high bar. The only finalist.
And stayed on the bar.
Because that's how you get that. And D'Amato won E-score on beam.
So all of our gold medalists were also the E-score champions.
Which is how it should be. I would like it to be more definitive.
And none of the gold medalists were the D-score champions.
Which is also how it should be. So I guess this whole E&D thing is working out mostly. What other questions do you guys have? Michelle says,
Jessica, did you see where Carlos wins unlimited ramen for life because of his gold?
Yes. And didn't he get like unlimited mac and cheese too? Or was that someone saying they want unlimited mac and cheese for someone else who won? But this is also very, very exciting. Can we hear more about the press conference? Yes. Okay. There were some boring questions that were asked, just like, oh, how do you feel?
Jessica did get called on, and it's gonna be a thing.
I just feel like, oh my God. Do you there was a lot of Simone giving the same answer because she was just asked, how does it feel? How do you remember these Olympics? But they did say like Paris has been great. We love Paris. Jordan's final words about Paris was like, yeah, it was turnt. She was like, we turned out, something like that. Like it was a club, which I enjoyed very much from Jordan. And what else did they say? Oh, what do you guys think? I think I mostly told you the interesting things from the press conference today. Yeah. And Simone said really nice thing about D'Amato and Esposito. Just she was really proud of them. They should be sort of proud of themselves and how well they did. And it was just they were glowing listening to Simone talk about how great they were. It was really nice to see. What do you guys think Jordan's announcement tomorrow is going to be? She's making a big announcement. I have two thoughts.
What are your two thoughts?
Either she's going back to UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. Or Dancing with the Stars.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think like UCLA like retweeted it or whatever, right? Or
Yeah.
like tagged or whatever. But I would like it to be more endorsement related, because I feel like there are a lot of products who are like that vibe. That is what we want.
Yes.
So I would like Jordan to have like 1 million endorsements.
Yeah, me too. Sandra says,
is there a rule about how long you can keep doing the same floor routine? There is not.
We wish. That's another.
And the Gauge coaches are like, thank God. Because we have
just
one,
recycle this
and we're
thing
going to give
over and
basically the
over.
same one to everyone, and you have to have it for 10 years.
20 years they've been giving gymnasts the exact same routine, and then they go to college and everyone's like, she's so elegant, it's so pretty, and it's true. But my God, McCool and Leanne Wong doing the same routine. Victoria.
How quickly are the athletes leaving Paris?
It's interesting, actually, because some have already left, like alternates. Some have already left. Some are leaving tomorrow, which sucks because they don't get to really like even have a day to do anything here. But again, it is a business trip and it's assignment. But some of the team is going back to the US immediately, and some are not. And that is very unusual and does not usually happen. So I'm super stoked about that. And I think that is a very, very nice development that people can have their own.
I mean, don't they want the U.S. women's team in the closing ceremony now that they can do a ceremony and they're not like, we don't want to stand on a boat right before our competition?
That's the thing. I would assume some of them are going to be in the closing ceremony, the ones that are staying. But I know also like they like them to do, and I think NBC might have some more contractual things that the team is supposed to be able to do. But I think now, and this has been the case at Worlds now, is like you can stay longer at Worlds if you don't want to go home right away from the assignment. But I hope this means that they don't have to just come home and do a whole press tour. They can actually go on a vacation or like take care of themselves and then come back or something.
I don't know what that is. Vacation.
I know. I just want Simone to like go to an island or, a nice hotel in Chicago with her husband. So he probably has to go back to work.
Did you see the camera person who kept bumping Simone? She said it on camera before floor. There is not enough room down there between the podium and the wall and the seats.
The thing is, there is plenty of room, except the camera people shouldn't be allowed right there. Then there would be plenty of room. Did you see how they basically, Voinea was kicking up to handstand? And I was like, she's going to kick when she comes back down and she's going to land on the camera. I don't know how she didn't. Like, the camera people are too close. If they just had Deanna down there by herself, no one would miss anything. Because Deanna is small and compact and gets all the shots. And she's here working for NBC, so she should be down there. They don't need 7 large men. That's what I'm saying. There's nothing with them being large, but there are too many men. Way too many men.
Claire says, does Jessica have any new pin stories?
Funny you should ask, Claire. Yes, I do. I got some new pins from Jennifer Pinches was here today. And so I met up with her. And she gave me some pins. One says what Becky said. Another said what Allie said. This one says what Rachel said. And this one says #Gymnast Alliance. Another one says little girls grow into strong women. So she gave me some of these. And immediately people were asking me for them. So I immediately distributed them. But one person,
you're very magnanimous.
I am so magnanimous. Thank you for letting the people know in case they haven't heard me say it enough times. But one person, she was like, oh, what is this? What Becky said. What's Gymnast Alliance? And I was like, oh, Gymnast Alliance. It's, part of the British side of the organization of gymnasts speaking out about abuse. And she was immediately like, oh, no, I don't want that. And I was like, okay, well, hope you don't enjoy sports then. I wasn't upset about it. It was fine. Gymnastics fan says.
Jessica, did any of the gymnasts mention camera flashes bothering them, especially during beam? I have to avoid laser and strobe lights to prevent migraines.
No one mentioned it in the press conference, but I do think there was a discussion of it. There was one seat, I swear to God, they had one of those old-timey flashes from like the 50s that like burnt itself out, and then they had to get another one and put it on. That was so bright, and I kept waiting for a volunteer to go up and like escort that person out, or just like drag them by their camera flash out of the building because it was so bright it was bothering me, and I'm sitting really close to beam. So I think it may have been an issue. I think I saw them discussing it, but I didn't have a chance to ask anyone specifically. So I'll try to get info on it for you. Also, one before I get to this question, I did want to say that Marine Boyer was there on the podium in the gym warming up beam before, because she's an alternate for beam. So hopefully that means that she was cleared from a concussion protocol, since she was here warming up beam in case she was needed as the alternate. What was that question?
If you're going to post all the press conferences.
Now that we have been cleared, even though we were wrongly told we were not allowed to, we will try to post some of the key moments from the press conferences so you guys can see, because there are some good ones. Gray said,
who do you think could be the next U.S. all-arounder, not including those on this Olympic team? I mean, it's an open question, because if you're not including those on this Olympic team, then it's like Chiles Jones and Sky Blakely.
Yep.
If you mean next generation, also people who are already seniors, because I think, it's not the same pipeline of like, this 15-year-old is the all-around champion.
Yeah. I think we will probably see, depending on what they do. Tyler Turner, I really like. I've mentioned her. Also, Pacific Rain, Simone
Rose from
Jayla Hang. And who was the other one that I'm obsessed? Aki from Nola's gym. Aki. I can't remember her last name. She's amazing. Yeah, I hope Kalia Lincoln sticks around and does elite, because especially after having more competition experience at college, she'll be amazing. Amazing.
And of course, there's Claire Pease has been kind of the top finishing U.S. all-around junior lately.
What was that question?
Question regarding yesterday's vault. Was there any hostile or supportive interaction between the Ukrainian vaulters Igor Radovilov, Nazar Chaperny, and Mario Fati?
No. I saw no hostileness between anyone anywhere at all. Well, not any of the men. There was hostileness between gymnasts being just one, really being like very confused, upset, and dramatic about an inquiry. But other than that, like, I have not seen anyone be unkind or be weird at all with anyone. Everything's been chill.
Ladybug Matador says, do you think we'll find out the extent of Simone's calf injury?
Yes, I think you will find out all about it on the next 2 episodes of her Netflix series. There's 2 episodes before the Olympics. There's 2 coming after. And what did Katie say? October?
Yeah.
Will be out? Yeah. So
my guess is that we're going to find out it hurt way more than she was letting on, but also was like, I'm going to do the Olympics. But she's going to be like, you guys, the amount my calf hurts.
I'm also guessing that because of some of the questions that I was asked in my interview. So, which could have just been very general, but also could have been because I'm pretty sure this was known about when I did my interview. But I don't know anything for sure. But yes, I do think all of that will be in there, because they're here every day filming, and every single press conference, Katie is here. Her crew is on the floor, and her crew are in the in the mix zones and in the press conferences. So they've got all of it. Everything. Ruth asks.
News on who's coaching at WCC now.
I've heard rumors, but nothing confirmed. Nothing public. So
is Cecile just off to Georgia now? She's just like, peace out, bye. The Olympics are done.
God, I hope not. I hope she's at least taking like 2 weeks because she's French, for God's sake. She can't keep this American schedule.
She understands the importance of a vacation.
Yes. Like I hope they don't expect her to go literally straight from here to like show up at Georgia in like 2 days. You don't get a good head coach that way. Like she needs some rest. So I hope
she has enough clout to argue for what she wants.
Yes. And like they have a good assistant coach there who's been running things, for months now. Like he can handle things.
Co-head
coach, I'm sorry. But really we know Cecile's in charge. Yeah, but I think, and they know each other from Woga, and I think it'll be good. But I did have an answer to a question from yesterday about there was a question yesterday about why, which is an excellent question, about why was Melanie allowed to leave and go be coached in the United States while Namor was supposed to go and train at one of the national team training centers in France, or they weren't going to fund her anymore and she had to switch to Algeria. And so the continuation of that answer is because Melanie was like, the French Federation, Melanie said she would quit if they didn't let her be coached by who she wanted. And the French Federation granted that because they were like, well, Melanie's been our best all-arounder for like 10 years now, so we're going to let her do what she wants. But Namor was considered as someone that was new, that hadn't proven herself. And thank you to Laura Capelli for, it's really handy to have a French gymnastics correspondent on hand during the Olympics when you're in Paris.
France is going to France, and there's going to be a lot to talk about.
There's so much to talk about. So, and so many people have asked me here what I thought, just all the journalists, we talk to each other, and we, people are very friendly and have, can ask each other for help with this. Like, I missed this. What did you see? Like, what do you think about this? Am I missing something? And there's been a lot of discussion of, everyone just sort of like, this whole thing doesn't really make sense, is the consensus on the Namor French Federation situation. Wom wom, as in wom wom, says
Sabrina downgrading her Chusafitna. I thought she was going for a better E score, but I don't think it worked out for her. Maybe, yeah. I mean, I agree that her floor score is built on D, and so that's kind of what you have to go for. But maybe she just didn't feel like she could hit it.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like her gymnastics is like a little bit erratic. Like sometimes it's so beautiful and sometimes it's kind of all over the place. And sometimes I wonder if it's she doesn't quite know until she's in the moment what the plan is. Yeah.
Do we have any news or updates in general from Chelsea, Alicia, or Dan? Their thoughts on the Olympics?
There's Chelsea answered some questions today. And I did not get to go to that because I was in the press conference. I thought it was more important to hear what Simone and the Italians and Jordan had to say. Andrade wasn't there yet, so it's been a little weird that they've started some press conferences without people, which on the one hand I've been like, oh, this doesn't feel right, everyone should be together. But then on the other hand, I can understand that it doesn't put the pressure on people to, like, they can spend as much time as they want to with media and give as long as interviews that they want, and they're not pushed through the press conference, which I appreciate.
Brazil keeps being like, Andrade is ours. You do not get her. We will ask 9,000 questions.
Especially with Andrade, because like the Brazilians are so generous with their time and they give great interviews. Oh my God, I saw a thing this today or yesterday on Instagram that I've been wanting to do forever, which is like I want to find a way to illustrate some of the stories that we've told on the show and some of the stories that our interviewees have told, like Richna about the getting blindfolded and doing back handsprings on beam. Those those stories, I'm like, it would be so fun to just make little vignettes, an illustrated version. And someone illustrated, it's hilarious. Flavia telling the story of falling off bars and whacking herself in the eye, and it's so funny. It's awesome. And I'm just like, oh, can whoever did that get in touch? Because I have lots of stuff. I have lots of material for you. We got 12 years of stories on here and great interviews. Let's see. Any last questions before we wrap it up and go on vacation? Your thoughts?
Did Spencer discuss Alice's beam scores from today versus all around? I joined late. Yeah, a little bit, in that I thought she had more wobbles and checks and little bounces today, but I got a higher E score than the all around, and it doesn't really quite add up to me.
Yeah. Specifically, let's see. She improved 0.5 from qualifications. Yeah. That was the, but D, there wasn't a difference. Amy. Hi, Amy.
Have you seen Nadia's tweet about reviewing the Romanian floor scores? No, I haven't. What did she say?
Oh, I heard there might be some trouble. Fact checker. What did she say? Get on it quick. Fact checker, quick. Pull up Nadia's tweet.
Assignment. Houseman. Get me the tweet.
This is the fact checker job. Quick, run down the facts and tell us. I do want to give a shout out to all of the Paris volunteers and all of the staff and all the Parisians, because everyone here has been lovely and it's been wonderful. Oh, Nadia says, I can't read that. This floor routine needs a review. We need to protect athletes' mental health for being there for them. And it's Voinea's routine. Oh, but then does she have another one? Oh, and then
dissect in depth, obviously.
Kathy Johnson reposted, or Nadia reposted Kathy Johnson's tweet, which says, you want to read this one?
Take a moment to send love and support to Ana Barbosa and the Romanian team. The cruel juxtaposition in this moment of jubilant celebration for Jordan and the crushing blow to Ana as she was on the podium celebrating what she believed was a bronze medal. My heart goes out to her.
Yeah. Oof. That's rough. Also, was Tom Brady there today? Is that why Spanny Tamsin was blaming everything that went wrong on him? I think it was. Oh, fact checker. See, fact checker's good. Look how fast he said yes, he was there. Well, now we know.
Because it was about football. Suddenly, you asked a football, and
then he was
right on it. But you asked by Nadia's Twitter, and it takes 20 minutes.
I want to give a couple thanks before we go. Oh, here's another one. Nadia. Oh, well, that's the same one. But thank you for. Oh, here she has another. What? All right, I'm very confused about what
Nadia said, I can't believe we play with athletes' mental health and emotions like this. Let's protect them. # Ana Barbosa.
Oh, she talked about Ana Barbosa too. Man, Nadia's whipping out the mental health.
I think that was about the moment of the final.
Yeah.
Kathy was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, but which is also like very true. And I'm like, we don't really hear that from Nadia. So like, yeah. Go Nadia.
She's stepping up for her Romanians.
Yeah, I like
Nadia. Nadia's got to stand up for them.
Yeah, because man, that was awful. I want to give a shout out to Daniel, who's doing a practicum with us, and he's done a great job getting us all of the E's and D's and who was lower and higher and changes and surprises, being on call for the data, and to fact checker, who is also chief breakfast maker, and he is customer support, and he also runs he is a website help IT department for many people, including in the media center here, not just for Gymnastic, and also does the production when we do our virtual live show and here, and has just been fantastic. And I appreciate him so much. And of course, to Uncle Tim, who has been our news aggregator and researcher in chief Uncle Tim PhD since the very, very beginning of Gymnastic. And of course, Spencer, who's been doing all of this. While I know I'm not allowed to talk about your health, but like, you've been fucking awesome, Spencer, and you've been killing it. And I've been bragging about you to everyone. And
well, I
like
do
how
like that. I do like
people
receiving brags and A pluses.
people don't see that like the days that you have chemo and you come on here and you like feel like shit and are like, people don't see that part, and then you like snap to it and get it done and do the show because theater kids are the best.
Theater kids do it.
And you're badass, and you've been
Thank
like
you.
doing an amazing job through all of this, and I'm very proud of you, and you're the best. So you're great. That's all I want to say. Thank you so much to all of our Club Gym Nerd members, because we could not do this without you. And I really appreciate all of you. And it's so fun to do this. And it was so fun to be here at the Olympics. And I hope that we are able to communicate just part of what it's like to be at the games to you these last 2 weeks. And we are now going to take a very well-deserved vacation for 2 weeks. And you guys have all of our every day of episodes to listen to, plus our 12-year catalog of episodes. And you can listen to, just search for interviews if you want to, or any of our coverage, and enjoy it while we're gone. Plus you have the live show if you want to watch the replay, buy a ticket for the replay. So thank you all for your support. And here's to 12 more years and beyond. And congratulations to all the Olympic champions. Until 2 weeks from now, remember to take off on gay, split on rights, and thanks for listening. We'll see you after vacation.